Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Pagona and welcome to the first of what I'm hoping is going to be a nice little mini-series for you guys to enjoy. Basically, I figured since some of you guys might not know some of these new games that are coming out, might not know popular games that are coming out, that I'm going to try and select every game that I play before it's out. And at that point, I can kind of do a video just kind of explaining the aspects of the game, talking about what's what and all of that stuff, just to give you guys a little bit of a background before we start playing it. That way I don't have to sit there in the game and explain everything there is to know about it. We are going to start with Dinosaur Battlegrounds, which is a game that I'm actually part of the developer team on. I haven't actually done much just yet. I've helped around. I'm kind of learning 3D modeling at the moment, and hopefully I'll get to create some models for the actual game, which would be brilliant. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about the actual game itself. Now, everything that I'm about to tell you guys is on the forums and on the Kickstarter page, which I have up right now. So let me just switch to that. Okay, Dinosaur Battlegrounds. It is a simulation multiplayer sandbox survival. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything there is. It is a very big game. It is mainly a simulation. You will play as a dinosaur in prehistoric Earth, obviously. The first game or first pack that it will automatically come with will be set in Hell Creek, which, for those of you who don't know, is a time, a place where a lot of the popular dinosaurs were found, including the T-Rex, the Triceratops, blah blah blah. And yeah, you will basically play as a dinosaur in this world. You will fight, you will survive, you will just try your hardest to reach the top of the food chain. Or at least that's what they've said. But technically speaking, you might not reach the top of the food chain because I guess it does and it doesn't work. But moving on, the game hasn't been released yet, obviously, that's why I'm doing this video. But they are going to be doing like an early access thing on Steam. They will, well, you can kind of pre-order the game. It's not officially on Steam right now, but you can pre-order the game through PayPal. And when they release a beta or an alpha or whatever version they do release, you get to play. I think you got to pledge, is it 10? Here on Kickstarter it's $10, but I think, yeah, it's $10 for a beta of the game, and I don't think you can purchase that anymore because the Kickstarter campaign is over. I think they are going to be releasing a Kickstarter campaign in the near future, but don't hold my word on that. You can pledge $25, and that will give you access to a beta, a free copy of the final game, an ebook with your name in the contributors section of the credits, and you get access to the developer forums when they open up. And it is created by a man who goes by the name of Frank Dino. I say goes by the name of it. That is his actual name. And he's spent a long time, a good part of his life, studying, illustrating, and professionally kind of basing his life on dinosaurs. He's been fascinated by dinosaurs, which, in terms of what he enjoys, what he likes, what his passion is, clearly makes him the perfect man for this job. You know, he states here that when he was 5 years old, he got in trouble for covering his bedroom walls with drawings of dinosaurs. As a punishment, he had to sit and watch his father paint over my masterpiece stick figure drawings, which is it's unfortunate, but it does show you how long he's had this passion for dinosaurs. And you know, that and his experience in the film industry. He worked for the 20th Century Fox's Blue Sky Studios, who did films like Robots and Ice Age. I believe he worked on at least one of the models of Scrapped, the beloved character that everyone obviously loves, as beloved stands for that. You know, he is perfect for the job, and the rest of the team is absolutely brilliant. I will get onto that. Now, you've got Frank Dino. Obviously, he's a freelance artist and illustrator. He's worked on different projects, everything from illustrations, films, scientific illustration, which does mean that the dinosaurs in game are going to be scientifically accurate. But again, I'll get more onto that in the further down in the episode. You've got David Brooks. I'm hoping I said that correctly. He's an animator. He's worked on films like Night at the Museum, Land of the Lost, Narnia. Land of the Lost wasn't a huge film. Night at the Museum was quite big when it did come out, but Narnia obviously is a huge film. But it might be different for you guys because I'm from the UK and blah blah blah. So obviously he is a good animator, a very good animator. I believe Frank Denota has also done some animation as well, so they've got that sorted. You've got Jesse Jimenez. I'm hoping I said that correctly as well. He's the advising engineer at Modo Payments, who does a bit of the development, bit of the marketing kind of consultant. And he's also an artist and software developer, which, you know, put to good use, that is a really good combination. Alexis Kyprios, he's the writer and the visual artist. Laurie Denota, who I believe is Frank's wife, is going to contribute on writing, editing, and coordinating the team. That is also partly my job. Matt DeBrino is focusing on some concept design. Not entirely sure. No, it doesn't say much about him, but I'm sure his work is brilliant. Jacqueline Morelli Hernandez Emmanuel and Axel Rodriguez are doing some publicity and graphics design. Again, I'm not focusing on publicity, I'm kind of focusing on a bit of graphics design. And Arnold Nisus, who I have just listened to one of the soundtracks that he's composed for the game, and it is very, very good. Very good. He's worked on things like Denota 3. No, not Denota. Got Frank Denota in my mind. Dota 3. He's worked on a couple of smaller games as well. I'm trying to think what else. I was looking at his portfolio earlier on. Can't remember. But you can go and look him up online, and I'm sure you can with the rest of these. They're not inexperienced at all. I'm sure they've all got portfolios online. Let's go up. And I will post links to the Kickstarter, the forums, the other websites that kind of go with it all in the description below. So be sure to check that out. I might have missed something or whatever, but yeah. If you donate a certain amount to the current pledge, you do get a 3D printed model from one of the models that will be in Dinosaur Battlegrounds. You do have to have already pledged at least $25. I think it says 55, but it could have changed because I am looking at the Kickstarter page. I probably should have been a little bit more organized with this, but I wanted to get it done. But you do get a 3D printed, beautiful model. Some of the models on this Kickstarter page alone are stunning. I don't know if they will be used in the actual game, but again, we'll get onto the models and stuff later on. Actually, in a second, actually. But yeah, as I said, the models are stunning. So to have a 3D printed model is a blessing. And you know, everyone loves a dinosaur model, so why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? So far, they've created over 75 dinosaurs. So if you think of a traditional game, you know, think of Zoo Tycoon, for example. You know, the new game, very limited. Very, very limited. But the old games, like Zoo Tycoon 2, the ones where you could build your enclosures, the ones where you could actually have a bit of fun, and you can sit down and you can watch your animals. I don't know entirely how many animals, but there are dinosaurs in that game. Not entirely sure how many there are, but there are quite a lot, and they're very kind of low quality. These are over 75 dinosaurs, and this is just the beginning. There are going to be loads more. There are going to be mammals. There are going to be insects. There are going to be birds. There are going to be fish. There are going to be sea reptiles. There are going to be flying reptiles. There are just so many. And to have 75 already modeled before this Kickstarter campaign even got set up, it is just stunning. And yeah, once again, these are not low quality models. These are professionally made, game ready, optimized models that are they look stunning. Absolutely stunning. I will probably mention this bit a bit later on as well, but it kind of merges with this. As I stated, Frank Dino has done some scientific illustrations of dinosaurs in his past. These, I believe they've got paleontologists working with them on this game. I should know. I'm part of the development team. I'm new. But to have the knowledge of paleontologists, to be able to go and research everything there is, it makes for a really accurate game, and that's what they're aiming for. They're aiming to get accurate dinosaurs modeled. They're aiming to get an accurate world, accurate behaviors, looks. And by behaviors, I don't just mean like how they act. You've got social, you've got diets, you've got attacking behaviors, you've got behaviors around others that might be a bit suspicious. You've just got this huge aspect to think of. Everything that they're doing behind the scenes is just stunning. But I'll probably get onto that in a bit. We've gone through that. Okay, I'm going to go through this anyway. It's the initial goals, but because the Kickstarter has already gone through and finished, hang on. They managed to get $11,000, which is quite a lot of money, but not a massive amount. I mean, Stumping got about 150,000, which is ridiculous. But that's why they're starting up a Kickstarter again and all of that. But the initial goals are to complete a prototype simulation for PC, which is going to be the Late Cretaceous Hell Creek Formation, which, obviously that is what they're going to do. They are going to complete a final reference guide to prehistoric animals. Any of the featured animals will be determined at a later date, but that is going to be a guide just about the prehistoric animals. It will have so much detail in it. They'll talk about everything from, what that dinosaur is, to the bite force, to the skeletal structure, to the latest theories, all of that sort of stuff. It's just stunning how much detail they're going into this. They will also release the reference guide on mobile devices, web, and a downloadable Windows application, which I'm guessing is going to be packaged with the game as well. They will translate and release to Asian and European markets. Obviously, America and the UK and all of that, they're all sorted. So, yeah. And they will release the initial prototype to the backers for testing and feedback. So this game isn't, it's not one of those games where they just kind of develop. They give you a couple of previews every now and then they release this unfinished, horrible game, and they just don't listen to comments or feedback. It's kind of like what EA does. They're going to be there. You're going to be there with them throughout the entire way. I've seen how they talk to the members. They're not nasty. They don't get... I'm not going to say that word. They're not nasty. They take everything that you say into consideration. If it's not plausible, or if there's no point having it because it's not part of a simulation, then obviously they're going to try and break that to you nicely. They're not just going to say straight up no. They're going to turn around and explain why not. They're not going to... they're not just going to say no. They're going to teach you. They're going to inform you of everything about the game. And it's really nice to be a part of. I mean, the community's great. The developers are great. They talk to everyone. The amount of features that people have suggested, and at least one of the developers, obviously they are very busy with this game, but at least one of the developers will pop up at some point or other, reply and say, oh yeah, that's a great idea, but, or that's a great idea, we're going to have it in, or no, but this is why. It's really nice to be a part of, and I definitely suggest that you go off and you join this forum and just be a part of the community. You don't have to purchase the game. You can be a part of this community and watch this game grow. And obviously, if down the line you do really want the game because you've seen how great the community is, how great the developers are, how great the game looks, feels, whatever, then you can purchase it. So I mean, yeah, it's not limited to backers only. Now, stretch goals. If they reached 15,000, which unfortunately they didn't in the first Kickstarter, but you can still pledge money, which means that these features that I'm about to talk about can still be added. And obviously when they do the Kickstarter campaign next, or if they do, I'm not entirely sure if they will, then you can definitely pledge some money and see if you can get to these amazing stretch goals. So for 15,000, they will include more dinosaurs, and add more non-player characters to the beta simulation. So you've got over 75 dinosaurs already modeled at this point in time. Now, if I go up, this Kickstarter ended last year, over a year ago. So over a year ago, they had, like, this was November 7th, so it's longer than a year. It's been over a year and a month. But over a year and a month ago, they had 75 models. Imagine what they've done in a year. Now, it might just be me, but to me, that seems like a huge amount of time where they can just be powering out models, and you can see it on the forums. You know, Frank doesn't post too much. He doesn't like spoiling the game, but from what I've seen, Tyler Clarenbeek, yeah, I think that's his name. He posts models not all the time, but quite frequently, and he kind of takes you through the process of his creation. The base model, bit more detail, the finalized model. He'll paint the model and show you, and then he'll take that and give you the game model, and it's just great to be a part of that process. And you know, if we can get more dinosaurs in, we can make this simulation so much more realistic. The next one is 20,000. John Bindon, he joins the team. He is a veteran paleo artist, and he'll help with the design of the game and, more importantly, concept designs. If you think about it, yes, they've got a team, and the team is great, but the more work you can spread out to more people, not only will it be done quicker, the outcome will be so much better. Because, you know, if you were to sit down at your desk, load up your emails or whatever, and see that you've got 50 pieces of concept art to finish, you know, the first one's going to be fun, the 10th one's going to be alright, the 20th one you're going to be kind of bored, even if you enjoy the subject. The 20th one is going to be kind of boring. The 30th, 40th, and then the 50th one is going to be hell on earth to do because you've been, you know, scratching your fingernails into the desk trying to design this dinosaur. Not just dinosaur, I mean like the world itself as well. So if we can get like 1, 2, 3, 4, however many concept design artists, each one of them can bring not only more concept designs to the table at a higher quality, they can also bring in their own opinions. So it's kind of, you get more of a variety in the game. You don't want all your dinosaurs to look the same. I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but obviously you'll have one person's ideas, another person's ideas, maybe another person's ideas. It just kind of mixes and you get a nice variety of dinosaurs. For 30,000, they improve different things across the board, including things like artificial intelligence and environment interactivity. Now, artificial intelligence is obviously how the non-player characters go around and act. You know, it's nowhere. It's not definitely not gonna be those boring games where they just kind of wander around and do nothing. It's not what's gonna happen. But what this means is that they can really push on that artificial intelligence and just bring them that one step closer to real life. And if we can reach that goal, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The environmental interactivity is things like destruction, things like growing and dying plants, which they really want to include. They want this world to be as realistic as possible, as much of a simulation as possible. So that environment interactivity is key to making this game that one step better. For 40,000, the Morrison Formation or Jurassic Period is going to be added, which means, and that's right, a whole lot more dinosaurs. The game at the moment is Hell Creek. They've got over 75 dinosaurs modeled. I'm sure it's in the hundreds now. So to have the Morrison Formation with another 75 dinosaurs, 100 dinosaurs, is just stunning. And to be able to select from the Cretaceous period to the Jurassic period, it just brings so many more possibilities. The environments are going to be different. I believe the Jurassic period was cooler than the Cretaceous period. There was a lot more volcanic activity in the Cretaceous period. So that means the environments are going to be very, very different. I'm sure there's a whole lot more science behind it, but that's what I know at the moment. For 50,000, you've got multiplayer. Obviously, multiplayer is brilliant. North America, 70,000 will add the North Africa mid-Cretaceous period, which again means more dinosaurs, more environments, and to have 3 different versions of the game, who wouldn't take that opportunity? So if we can get that 70,000 point at least, we're going to have more concept artists, 3 different worlds, technically speaking. We're going to have more dinosaurs, better AI, more environment interactivity, multiplayer, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. You've got 100,000, which is polishing and fine-tuning, as well as Argentina. So that's another place, as well as polishing and fine-tuning, which is obviously key in the game industry and creating a game. I'm going to warn you guys that these videos will probably be fairly long. I am really enjoying this, actually. I don't know why. I'm just talking about a game, but I'm really excited for the game. But they are going to be fairly long. I probably should have put this one at the start. I might put this one in. I don't know. You don't have to listen to all of it. I'll probably put little pointers throughout. Probably too late to tell you guys this, but oh well. For 120,000, they will add pterosaur player characters and dino bird player characters. So I think what that means is, let's say pterosaur. Yeah, it says pterosaur. I thought it said pterosac at the moment, for a moment then. So pterosaur is obviously things like pteranodon, that other one, the huge one that no one can say. And dino birds are obviously things like little mini raptors and archaeoraptors and things like that. 150,000. They will expand character animations, which obviously is going to add a lot more variety and make this game that much more realistic. Customizability. We will get onto that in a bit, but putting it briefly, they want to give the users options on how their characters look, but these options are going to be not scientifically proven, but they must have something backing these theories. For example, feathers. Not all dinosaurs have feathers. So, for example, if you have a raptor, the chances are it's going to have feathers. But I'm sure you'll be able to turn feathers off if you're not a fan of feathered dinosaurs. So you got that. You've got skill pack awards, item pack rewards, which they haven't been decided, but obviously, if you're playing the game and you get a skill pack reward or item pack rewards, it's going to give you that benefit during gameplay. They'll give you free skills and items to give away. So, 150,000 is it's a good deal, and you don't just get this one, you get all of them before. 175,000 is more expansion, fine tuning, and polishing. You know, when you're creating a game, you don't just create it and you're done with it. You want to polish it, you want to fine tune it, and to be able to take that time to just sit there and just dig at the game, find bug after bug after bug, get the lighting, perfect. Just tweak settings for days on end to make it that much better that's what you want. To give yourself a better experience as a player, I suggest share this game with everyone. Share this video, share this Kickstarter page, share the forum link. Just try and get this game out and see if we can reach that 175,000 mark, or the 200,000 to 500,000. They're not asking for millions. The most they're asking for really is 500,000. Obviously, any more than that is benefit, but 500,000 is the max that they've asked for, really. And if they get that, it's basically the Dinosaur Dream Sim. They are going to add the more dinosaurs, the expansion game modes. John Binden will join the team, improvements, AI, Jurassic Period, Argentina, all of them. And anything else they can think of into this game and make it perfect. Absolutely perfect. And, that's what we want. That's what we want as me as a developer. That's what I want. And I'm sure others as users, as people that are just plain interested in this game. I mean, I was shocked that they only got 11,000. But, if we can get that 200,000, not only we will make our dream sim, I'm sure a lot of you guys have this simulation in mind where they want to sit down, play as a dinosaur in a realistic world and just have fun. That's what this game is about. And, the capabilities of this game, they range from everything, This is not just a game that people can play. You can learn from this. They're coming out with a book that you can read and learn about dinosaurs. You can learn about how dinosaurs behaved, what they look like, all of this. And it can be used as a teaching tool, technically. So, And they've got some pictures of the models, which I will be showing on the video. They might not necessarily be game models, but they are models that Frank and other people have created. And, yeah, they are stunning. That's all I can say. Anyway. Simulation features. They are going to use the most up-to-date information available to us. They're going to be consulting paleontologists and other experts to just try and make this world as accurate as possible. And obviously, because the world of dinosaurs changes constantly. One moment the T-Rex didn't have feathers, one moment it did, one moment it didn't, blah, blah, blah. Because it changes so frequently, that means frequent updates that will let you have feathers on certain dinosaurs that we originally thought didn't. The T-Rex could have wings. It didn't. Chances are it didn't. It's got tiny arms, it can't really have wings. But, if later on down the line we found out it had wings, the developers would be straight on that. They will get an update out as quick as they could, as long as there's proof behind it, obviously. You will be able to play as different species of dinosaurs and other animals native to the time and place. And obviously you can uncover rare species, kind of like a little Easter egg. And if you uncover them, you can play them. The world itself is going to have seasons. It's going to have different day and night cycles. Dynamic weather, which means one moment it could be raining. The next moment it could be bright and sunny. The next it could be snowing. The next it could be hurricane, because they're going to be adding natural disasters as well. These are all things that make this game so realistic. They're going to have different environments, full of life. And while most games, they don't technically think or have this, but most games, they kind of focus on the animals. You go around Far Cry, and as much as it is great, I mean, Far Cry 4 is brilliant. But the only thing they've really added is people bad people, and animals. And while that feels alive, these guys, they're going to make the environment itself a living, breathing organism. You know, flowers, trees, grass, it's all going to grow, reproduce, and die. And by reproduce, I don't mean, you know, one tree and another tree, they love each other very much. You know, I'm sure they'll work out some way of doing it, but, you know, trees will grow and die, plants will grow and die, natural disasters are going to be used to your advantage, or not necessarily your advantage, you know. You could die from a tornado, and you could load up the game next, and you could die from a T-Rex, and then you could load up the game again, and you could die by getting trapped in some mud. You know, if you learn this environment, if you learn how it works, how it flows, you can use that to your advantage. In the middle of a chase and you're a small dinosaur, you can run under logs that you've kind of looked around, and that could save you. You know, if you knew that a tree had grown and died, you could run through that gap that might not have been capable if the tree was in the way. Whatever. And, you know, that environment being alive is going to push this game, I think, further than most games have gone. Obviously, the AI, the artificial intelligence, is going to be very in-depth. They're not just going to do these brilliant models, brilliant animations, brilliant world, and just kind of skip out on the AI. You know, they are really going to go all out with this. They're going to add communication with the dinosaurs through body language, different types of moods. You know, they might huff and puff, because, you know, they do. Animals, they do kind of, I don't want to say huff and puff, but, you know, if it's annoyed, it could make a sound, or it could act differently. You know, if you're an angry, kind of like Sims, you know, if you're angry, you might be able to do certain things better because you're taking your aggression out. If you're happy because you've just eaten, you might not necessarily make mistakes that you would make if you were upset and being chased. You'll have aggression levels. You'll be there'll be different postures to display intent. So happiness could be a very contempt look, contempt posture, relaxed. Aggressive could be very stiff and head upright, ready to attack anything that you see. You can control your territory, packs, herds. You know, some of the dinosaurs might become rogue. You know, say you're the leader of a pack and a dinosaur becomes rogue. It could challenge you, and you'd have to try and fight to be the leader. And if you lose, it's not like game over. You just lose. You go down a rank. And, you know, if you want to try and take that rank back, if you want to be the leader again, you don't just restart the game. You fight for it. And it's all based around dinosaur behavior that you have learnt, or they have learnt from the experts. The character control itself is going to be very fluid. Basically all the dinosaurs, all the creatures, are going to have different animations. Which, you know, it really does make for brilliant variety in the game. And to have fluid character control. A lot of games I see have really kind of jumpy character control. You could be running, and when you stop, it's like a completely different animation. There's no fluidity. I don't even know if that's a word. It doesn't kind of flow into the stop. It's just playing a little animation. They haven't thought it through, and then it just kind of stops and they stand still. It's going to be fluid. And again, that just adds to the realism. They're going to add regular updates to the basic game. So, you know, you could have new areas than you might have in the beta. That basically just adds more variety to the game. You know, with some new unique environments, more animals. You know, if you reach the stretch goals and they bring out a beta, it might not necessarily have the promised attributes. You might not get these promised extra dinosaurs or animals. But further down the line, you will get them in an update, because they will just be powering out updates. Which again, it's great to see a developer team so dedicated to the project and willing to spend their time pushing out updates for you guys to enjoy, and they want the most accurate information. So again, on that topic of if something new comes out that we haven't really learned about before, that's going to go straight into the game as quick as possible. And obviously multiplayer. The ultimate dream of this game is to be able to have you, your friend, and a bunch of random people in a game together, so you can create a herd together, or one person could be the T-Rex and the other person could be the Triceratops, and you live your life, you grow up, and then you just attack each other. You can have fun. You can have fun. And with that multiplayer, it's not just a multiplayer game like Beasts of Prey, which is a good game, or Stomping Land. You have your own hierarchy of skills, You might be able to up a certain skill if you're a Triceratops, which we will go to in a bit. The other person might be able to up a skill of the T-Rex, both of which will give you an advantage against each other. But because you're both up that skill, it's going to be even, the fight. Family groups, herds, and all of that, battling for territories, hunting rights, all of that. You've just got to compete to be the most dominant creature in this game. You've got two game modes. You've got arcade, which is obviously kind of a more relaxed thing. I'm trying to think of an example. I can't think of an example. But actually, I think Zoo Tycoon has a relaxed mode, technically. It's where you don't have to work for anything. You just kind of load up the game at a point you want to be and just do it. You don't have to worry too much about the simulation aspects. You just kind of join and you do what you want. You have a bit of fun. Say you wanted to see what it was like killing a T-Rex as a Stegosaurus. You load up the game, pick a Stegosaurus, change the age or whatever to adulthood, go and find a T-Rex, kick its ass, and you're done. Simulation, however, is obviously a simulation of the game. It is detailed, it is depth, it is just as realistic as possible. You'll start as an egg, or I don't think there's any there's live births in dinosaurs. I could be wrong. But you start off as an egg, you hatch, you grow up, you've got to eat, you've got to drink, you've got to keep your temperature cool, you've got to raise your temperature. You've just got to take all of this into account, and it makes for a brilliant simulation. The static and dynamic customization. Dynamic lets you edit most variables and traits to customize the game world to pretty much anything, Tyrannosauruses were theorized by paleontologists that they were scavengers, primarily anyway. You can choose, if you want, to play your game that way. You can tailor that world to your own thing, Or you can play as a T-Rex that is vicious and aggressive and will take on anything. You can choose. Static basically means that you just kind of play recommended settings set by developers, and it's kind of a mixture of scientific theory and entertainment, and you don't have to adjust your settings. You just jump in, play, and if you like that, then go for it. If you want this dynamic, detailed customization, go for that. It doesn't really matter. Both of it's great. I mean, I'm probably going to play both. I don't see the problem. I want to test out everything. And obviously the static one is, while it doesn't give you a lot of customization, the static one is going to be more scientifically accurate, unless of course you are more up to date and you want a certain, say someone theorized that a T-Rex had wings. You could play as that in the dynamic. You could give it wings, even though it's not massively popular. And then further down the line, that might come true. That might be absolute 100% proof that T-Rex had wings. And you technically were right before everyone else. I don't know. I'm going into too much detail with that. Now, this section here talks about your playable character. There are going to be a lot of playable dinosaurs. And obviously the amount that there is, or the amount that the game has to offer, depends largely on how successful the campaign is and how successful their funding is. Obviously, the more funding, the more dinosaurs we can play as. So that alone is a perfect reason for me to donate money. I want to play as many dinosaurs as I can. These are going to be dinosaurs that we all know and love. T-Rex, Stegosaurus, Triceratops, Raptor, or Velociraptor, I should say. The ones that we're not so common, I guess. Again, they're not so common, so I can't really name any. They might be coming to you guys, so I don't want to go into that, but yeah. And your playable character will have different senses. So this isn't just going to be a game where you run around and eat stuff. You're going to be playing games scientifically accurately. So the examples that they've got here are the Carnotaurus, some carnivores, sorry, not Carnotaurus. They've got binocular vision, which means they've got excellent depth perception, and they're good at seeing movement. So if you're a carnivore, that is what you're going to be able to do. And, some can even see well in the dark, so that's going to give you a higher or a better advantage over some that might not be able to see you in the dark. But they might have a better smell than you, so they might be able to notice you even though they can't see you. Or they might be able to hear you walking around, but again, they might not necessarily be able to see you. So they're going to be taken into account sight, hearing, and smell. It's just... it really wows me. Really, really wows me. Okay, so we have got a couple of different things here, talking about the traits and skills. So the traits, they will be categorized into two things. You've got the non-specific traits and the specific species traits. Now, the non-specific are obviously those traits that aren't necessarily for a single dinosaur. So, for example, I'm going to use T-Rex and Triceratops because they are like nemesises, enemies till death. These traits will work for both of them. So you've got things like weight advantage, faster running, strength, tough skin or hide, as if that, and agility boost. So you might be able to move left and right or jump over things quicker. Obviously, they can be used for both of these. You might be able to pick weight advantage for the Triceratops, and the T-Rex might be a faster runner. Or they can swap around. The species specific are ones that are specific to certain dinosaurs or certain species. So, again, sticking with the Triceratops and T-Rex, they've listed here you've got steel frill, which obviously means that the Triceratops can have a much stronger frill, which it can kind of use to defend itself. However, the T-Rex might be able to get sharper claws, or camouflage, or even overdeveloped teeth. Obviously the sharp claw and overdeveloped teeth are going to give you a much better advantage of breaking that steel frill. But the camouflage, on the other hand, could be good, because you could sneak around and take the Triceratops from surprise and take it out in one shot. So it all depends on what sort of what's the word? What sort of gameplay you want to have. If you want to be a ninja, you can pick ninja traits, technically. If you wanted to be the straight up aggressive attacker, you can pick those traits. I'm going to take a drink for a second. Excuse me, my voice is going. So, you play as you want to play. And these traits can be passed down through generations. Obviously, with age, you will, as in real life, obviously age gives you wisdom, and it makes you better at things. Sometimes. This game is going to be the same. While the steel frill might not be that good when you're a small, I'm going to say calf. A Triceratops calf? I don't know if that's technically true. Like a baby Triceratops. Steel frill is going to be great and all, but as you get older, that steel frill could grow, it could become stronger, it could become better, and, that's going to give you an edge over the sharp claw that someone might get when they're younger. You want to... Not only do you want to play tactically in terms of picking the right traits, you want to play tactically as trying to attack other creatures that might have different traits. An active skill is one that relies on experience. So You've got things like being able to dodge a tail swing from an ankylosaur. You know, these are traits that happen actively. You know, the steel thrill, it's kind of there. I don't know, steel thrill. Fast runner is kind of there. It's there all the time. You can run quick, run around, scutter. An active skill is something that comes on. So you've got obviously the tail swing dodge, which, you know, that can come after experience as well, because you could get smacked by the tail of an ankylosaurus a couple of times and then realize, hang on a minute, I've been hit by this tail. What if I moved out of the way? And obviously that happens in real life. You know, that's how evolution technically happens. I mean, I've got cats downstairs that know what every door or every cupboard in the house has food in, because they've had experience. They've seen us take food out. And after a certain amount of time, they learn that that's where the food's kept. So they kind of scratch at the cupboard. And that's what this game is going to have. They've got some images of some of the features. So these are like pop-ups or inventories or whatever that will come up on screen. I don't know if these are finalized images. I will try and get them up on screen now. Try. I'll probably forget, so I'm sorry if that's the case. But the HUD, as some people call it, or the HUD, it'll have a little icon of what dinosaur you are, the title of the dinosaur, so for example Triceratops, which is the example that they've actually used, your player name or your player, you'll have your HP and your stamina. HP is obviously your health, stamina is obviously your stamina. So if you run out of stamina, you probably won't be able to do certain attacks, run, jump, whatever. If you run out of HP, you're dead. And I think as the HP lowers, you'll become injured, weak, and you won't be able to move much. And I think, I'm going to guess actually, that if you lose HP, it doesn't just regain instantly like on a lot of games. I think you've got to wait your time and just see that HP like very slowly rise up to the top. And if someone, for example, in your herd thinks, hang on a minute, this guy's weak, he's been attacked, I'm going to try and battle him for lead or leader, and no, obviously you'd lose in that situation. He wouldn't kill you, he'd just damage you to the point that you just can't carry on. You've got energy, which is kind of like stamina. I'm guessing that would be for certain attacks. Hunger and thirst. Now these are ones that you're going to have to keep an eye on. Energy, actually, no, my bad. Well, yeah, actually energy could be used for that. But energy, hunger and thirst are all things that you're going to want to keep an eye out for. If your energy reaches 0, obviously you're going to want to sleep, or you'll get weak and you won't be able to do much. If your hunger and thirst reach 0, you're going to starve. You might be able to last a day or two, but you will eventually starve or die of dehydration. You've got attributes, so you've got strength, endurance, intelligence, constitution, defense, and agility. You've got a herd information panel, so you can tell your herd to like follow you or defend the herd or defend you, or even defend the target or attack the target. You know, you can tell your herd what to do in this little panel, and while it might not technically be realistic to do that, it is a very quick way for you to turn around and say, everyone follow me, or everyone go to sleep. You've got states that are passive. So you've got happiness, confidence, and fear are the 3 that they've listed right now. I don't think there's any more. Oh, yeah, there are loads more. I'll get into that in a second, actually. So you've got species traits, which is another one. You've got like things, they're the traits that I mentioned before. So like a steel or thicker frill, or a spiked tail, or sharper claws. They will all go in there. They'll give you a bit of information, like plus 10 armor, plus 10 charge force, whatever. You've got your trait inventory, which I'm guessing is where you can select your traits from. So if through experience you learn a trait, you can select that trait. The states. Now, these are what I mentioned earlier, the happiness, stress, fear, all of that. These are things that you're going to have to look out for because they will affect your performance, speed, energy levels, endurance, your alertness, all of that. Obviously, if these are all maxed out, say you're very happy and very confident, you are going to do well in a fight. If the fight is fairly equal. Obviously, if the dinosaur is much bigger than you, then you might not stand a chance. But if you're happy and confident and it's all maxed out, you're going to do really well. If, however, you are very stressed or you are, terrified and panicky, you're not going to do as well because, stress and fear can make you do things that you wouldn't normally do. It can make you make mistakes. That's why, when you go to an interview, for example, and you're stressed or you're, scared of it, you tend to mess up, you tend to make little mistakes, and you hate yourself for them after because you wouldn't have normally. And that's the sort of thing that you're going to have. They'll have a negative effect on you. So, say you want to get rid of stress. How do you do that? You don't just leave it. You go out, you relax, say you're a triceratops and you wanted to roll around in the mud. I don't know if that's what they do, but I'm going to go with that because other creatures nowadays do it. Rolling around in the mud is going to be really relaxed or really relaxing, and that's going to get rid of the stress, and it's going to make you happier. And say you challenge the herd leader and you win, your confidence is going to skyrocket, and that is going to make you a much better leader. And if something happens, say like a T-Rex comes along and tries to ruin that for you, you're going to be so much more confident and you can fight it. If any of you have seen Disney Dinosaurs, at the end when what's his name? The iguana, the lead character. I can't remember his name. No. When he fights or stands up against the Carnotaur, that confidence not only scared that Carnotaur, it also made your herd follow you more. One of the herd came up forward, another one, until the entire herd was pushing this Carnotaur back and scared him away. That is what's going to keep you alive. You've got level of pain, so that is how much pain you are experiencing. So obviously if it's very healthy, you're not experiencing any pain. If, however, you are suffering from a debilitating pain, you're not going to do very well in a fight. You're not going to be able to move much. You're probably just going to lie there because you can't do anything because you're in a lot of pain. You've got mental alertness. Obviously, you're either going to be very alert, dazed, fatigued, or unconscious. You don't want to be unconscious, especially if you're like migrating or something. You've got energy level, which is very energetic, tired, exhausted, and asleep. Again, if that energy level drops to nothing, you are going to want to get some sleep fast. Reproductive. What's that called? It says immature, in heat, in rut, off season. I'm guessing this is when you can reproduce. So off season means that it's not mating season. You won't be able to reproduce. You might on the off chance be able to, but in general you probably won't, or it would take a lot of effort. Hunger, well fed to starving, that's an obvious one. Same with thirst, hydrated to dehydrated. With those two, if you start getting very hungry or parched, you are going to want to get something down you fast because that is going to be very negative in a fight. You've got states of being. Now, these are what are they called? Things like the posture. You've got things like temperature. These are things that you're going to have to take into account. I believe dinosaurs are a mixture of cold-blooded and warm-blooded. So you're going to want to kind of keep that temperature to perform properly, I guess. You don't want to be overheated and you don't want to be hypothermic. You want to be in the middle. You want to be warm or cool. That is what you're going to aim for. And if it starts to get cold or if it starts to get hot, that's going to affect a bunch of these stats that we just spoke about. If you're really hot, your mental alertness is going to be fatigued because that's what happens. If, however, you're cold, you're going to be stressed. It's quite stressful sitting there freezing your ass off. So you got to keep that in mind. You've got the postures, which is what I mentioned earlier. So you've got dominant. That is telling others around you that you're not going to take no for an answer. If you're telling your herd to follow you and they're not doing their job, you stick that dominant posture on, and they will know that you mean business. Submissive means that others will be able to take a dominant role over you. Obviously, if you are challenging, or if someone challenges you as a herd leader, and they beat you, and they are just kind of, they're going at it, you're going to want to become submissive before they kill you. That means that they've won. They're not going to kill you, and they're more dominant over you. It just means that you're going to be able to live. You don't want them to kill you just because they want to be the leader. If you're going to die, you want to die of old age or of like a carnivore or something decent. You don't want to die from one of your own. You've got threaten. That's kind of like how cobras kind of get that posture where they raise their head, the little flare throw thing comes out, and they kind of hiss at you, or the rattlesnake rattles. If you think someone's stalking you, you stick that threaten thing on, and they will know that you're ready to attack if they come closer. You got challenge, which is obviously challenging for a fight. It's kind of like what's it called? Tormenting. It's kind of like teasing someone, saying, "Go on, bring it. Go on, bring it on. Let's see what you got." And they'll go after you, or it'll scare them away. It depends on how confident they are. You've got fake attack to intimidate them. So obviously, if you're a triceratops, you can start, scraping your foot across the ground and do a mini charge towards them. And that's going to try and scare them off. And that's going to become in handy throughout the entire game. Not just when you're in a herd, when you're on your own foraging for food or whatever. It's gonna help. And inquisitive. This is to investigate a threat level. This can be used for everything from having a look at threat levels. So again, say you think someone's following you, you can kind of get curious. You can kind of wander around quietly, but just to have a look. Make it, or trying to find new types of dinosaurs. Obviously, you don't want to scare them away, so you're going to be kind of curious but quiet, and you're going to wander up to them and investigate them, see what they're like. They might attack you, they might not, in which case you change your posture. Things like mating postures, so you can call it the opposite sex, and that's also going to include a couple of vocal calls, scent markings, stuff like that. So it really does go into detail. You've got different attack postures, things like aggressive or defensive, or in between. There'll be different calls in communication. So obviously, like in the real world today, you've got things like distress calls, confrontation calls, agitation, hunger as a hatchling. Say you want your mum to come back and they've gone off for food. You use that hunger call, and they'll come back, feed you, go off again, leave you alone, whatever. And threatened, which is obviously threatened. They're going to be including injuries, diseases, and health. Now, dinosaur bodies were very capable, very, very capable of fighting off disease, parasites, and infection, as well as healing themselves, basically. So, it kind of includes all of that, but as well as, it's like broken bones and stuff like that. But obviously, if you really tax the body too much, it can kind of bring you down. It can really, really bring you down. So all of this is going into the game, For example, one of the ones that they've used here is that, parasites are going to be a big part of the game. Parasites were huge back then. Mosquitoes to smaller parasites that can give you diseases and infections. How do you get rid of them? You're a big dinosaur. You can't turn around, pick it up, and flick it off. You communicate with other dinosaurs or other animals. You've got birds and pterosaurs which will cling onto you and eat them. They're not going to cause you any harm, but they're going to get rid of these parasites, and it's going to be a win-win for both of you. You're going to get rid of them, they're going to get some food. And, say you've got rotten meat stuck between your teeth as well. They can take that out, and rotten meat, as with most things, can really, really affect you. And, you want those pterosaurs or dino birds to pick them out your teeth before you swallow them accidentally, and save you from getting these infections. All of these diseases that they'll have in the game are going to be scientifically accurate. I can't think of any, but, you know, I know for a fact they are going to be scientifically accurate, because that's what this game is all about. Getting the most accurate simulation possible for you guys to enjoy. You've got things like broken bones. They won't always stop you from moving and hunting, but if it's a serious broken bone, it will immobilize you. You know, say you're a T-Rex and you break one leg, you're going to be hobbling along, but if it's really serious, you're not going to be able to put pressure on that foot, and dinosaurs can't hop, at least not that I know of. So you're going to be stuck. And again, that's what makes this game so good. Some people might hate that, but I love the idea of really having to be careful about my attacks, my defenses, running away if need be. You know, there's nothing wrong with running away if you know you're going to get killed. And obviously, if you have a broken bone, you might not necessarily die in the moment, but that could immobilize you and cause you to starve out or dehydrate or even get attacked again by more creatures. And you don't want that, because that's cruel. That's like torture. You can clean your wounds like cats do, dogs do, lick them. If you have a mate, you can now allow them to groom and care for you. That way you just got a much lower chance of becoming infected. And obviously over time these injuries will heal. It's not going to be instant. It's not going to be this cheesy wait 5 seconds and then the health bar will go up. You've really got to wait. Play this game properly. There is so much in this game. You know, I'm nearly finished, but the territory alone, you've got different things like marking your territory with scent. Cats, dogs, loads of animals do it all the time. You know, my cat did it not too long ago. He was worried, he was scared. I don't know what was going on. I think he had fleas or something. But he had to mark his territory for some reason. We don't know why, but he had to do it. And that made him feel safer, more protected. Because he knows that if a cat smells that, it's going to get out of that. Unless it's a really confident cat. And that's what you have to do. If you want your territory to be your territory, you mark that. And if someone enters it and they don't know, you kill them. If someone enters it and smells that, they know it's someone else's territory and they will go off. Color patterns, obviously, if you're a creature that lives in different areas, the color patterns will reflect your environment. So, obviously there will be a certain amount of customization in terms of this, because they want you to have creatures that will look the way you want them to look. But say you lived in an open plains. It doesn't really matter what color you are, because the plains doesn't have much places to hide. But it does mean that the chances are you will be some sort of greeny color or brown, because you can kind of lay down in the plains and hide. Whereas if you were in a swampy place, it would be a much darker green. Or if you were in the woods, black would work quite well. You wouldn't be like bright white or anything, because you want to hide. And obviously these different color patterns, even though they might be like only slightly different, they're still going to give a lot more variety, and you'll know that you're in different locations because of it. Obviously we've spoken about the environment, growing, dying and all of that. Mating, obviously huge part of dinosaurs, huge part of dinosaurs. Without mating, dinosaurs wouldn't be around. Kind of like most things really. But you know, you will have to construct your nest. You'd have to incubate your egg. You know, that means sitting on it for in-game hours on end. You've got a reproduction. It's going to be based on keeping it fun, but engaging, and it's still going to teach you things. And it's all going to be based on scientific theories about dinosaurs. We know a fair amount already, but, you know, it's going to be accurate and present you a challenge. The last thing is the time span of the game. Now, they want to try and get the most abundant areas covered, so the chances are, even though they get the entire funding, they're only going to be to about 4 periods. And those 4 periods are going to be the Cretaceous, which are going to start off with, Jurassic, obviously another huge period that everyone loves, and the Triassic. They're the 3 that they've listed here. It might change, but I know for a fact Cretaceous Hell Creek is definitely on the list, obviously because that's the original idea, and they've already made a bunch of models and stuff for it anyway, so you wouldn't want to change it now. You know, it's just stunning, this game. I mean, that's it from this Kickstarter page. I've tried to explain everything as best to my ability. I'm sure there's a lot more I could have said, but I don't know how long this video is, to be fair. Is there any way of finding out? Oh wow, we've already reached an hour. That's ridiculous. My bad. I thought it was only like 30 minutes. As I said, this was a long video. I'm going to try and keep them shorter next time, because an hour is ridiculous. I do apologize for everything, but I wanted to get as much as I can into this because it is a brilliant game. You know, I don't know if I'm going to have enough images to really portray the potential of this game. So yeah, all I can say is I am definitely going to be playing this game. I'm part of the development team, so obviously I'm going to be playing it. I'll try and keep you guys updated as much as I can, but obviously for certain reasons I'm not allowed to say a lot of stuff. But if you want to find out, you've got the Kickstarter, which is full of information. Pretty much everything that you need to know, pretty much everything that I've said in this video is off that. I have gone into a bit more detail from what I know and to give you guys examples and explain things, but that is the basics. You've got the forums, which seriously, go check the forums out. You need to. The forums are brilliant. You know, at the moment there aren't too many. I wouldn't say there's too many members posting all the time, but the members that do post, they're there all the time. They talk. You will get to know them. It is a brilliant community. Developers constantly communicate between people. You learn new ideas. They update it. They provide images. They do all of this, and it is definitely worth looking into seriously. And obviously, the last part about it is pledging. Now, I'm not entirely sure if they are going to go for a Kickstarter. I'm pretty sure they are. But seriously, if you want this game, become a backer. Donate some money. Because not only do you get the game when it gets released, you get the beta. And to be part of the beta for this game is going to be brilliant, because you are going to be able to play this game, watch it be made, watch it grow. And who knows, if you've got a suggestion that you really want in the game, you can suggest it to the developers. If they like it, they'll put it in game. And you know, you could be part of that. Even if it's in game for a couple of updates and they decide, hang on a minute, no, it's not that great, we're going to take it out. You still get to play that because you're part of the beta. You were part of it. You get to play your suggestion. There are so many reasons to donate. And if you want this game to succeed to the best of its abilities, we need to reach that 200 to 500,000 mark. I'm going to stick with 200,000 because 500,000 is a very large number. But to get that 200,000 is a dream come true for all of us at the Dinosaur Battlegrounds dev team. It is a dream come true for a lot of you guys as well, because to have a dinosaur simulation this detailed, this complex, is just brilliant. I am going to end this video there. I don't want to go too much longer because this is ridiculous. I am going to try and do a couple more of these videos. I've got a couple of more games in mind, things like Prehistoric Kingdom, Sauria, and etc. So I'll definitely be doing some more of these videos. I'll try and keep them to about 40 minutes long. Sounds like a good number. But that is it for this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, check out the links in the description. I will try and put as much information there as I can. And yeah, I will see you all in the next video, whether it be Primal Carnage Extinction, Minecraft, or another update, well, not another update, another detailed explanation of a new game. Thanks for listening. See ya.